Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm your host, Darrin McBreen. It is Wednesday, April 25th, 2012. Here's a quick look at what we have lined up for you this evening.
Tonight on the Infowars Nightly News, child labor laws coming to a farm near you. The Obama administration aims to break the backbone of America. Plus, Alex Jones on the government wiretapping and the surge of evil fouling up our republic. And Darrin McBreen speaks with Farmageddon creator Kristen Canty. All that and more coming up.
I have one of these because the government can't and won't protect you.
And now, from deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6, your host, Darrin McBreen.
All that and more coming up during the next 30 minutes or so. But first, let's move right on to our top headlines. This one out of the Daily Caller, as there is a proposal from the Obama administration to prevent children from having to do farm chores. I'm not making this up, and this is not satire. It's actually drawing lots of criticism from rural district members of Congress. The headline reads, "Rural kids' parents angry about Labor Department rule banning farm chores." The Department of Labor is poised to put the finishing touches on a rule that would apply child labor laws to children working on family farms, prohibiting them from performing a list of jobs that on their own family's land. I mean, is there anything off limits in which the federal government is intruding on our way of life? I mean, think about it. This is the beginning of the end of parental consent. It's no big surprise that the attack was waged on family farms. I mean, the feds are already trying to totally dominate and industrialize our food supply, and they're making criminals out of farmers who simply want to produce fresh fruit, vegetables, raw milk. Anything non-GMO is being phased out and criminalized by our tyrannical government. And now they want to stop family farmers from passing on their farming skills to their own children and future generations. We'll certainly keep you posted as that story develops. Congressman said he was targeted for a grope down by the TSA. And I like that OTS, Marcos. It seems like every time we cover the news, there's a new TSA incident. Texas Representative Kiko Canseco, he says he was inappropriately touched in private areas during a run-in with the TSA. This was earlier this month at the San Antonio airport.
The agent was very aggressive in his pat down, and he was patting me down where no one's supposed to go, and it got very uncomfortable, so I moved his hand away.
So what basically happened, he was subjected to an aggressive pat down. He made a big fuss about it. And now every time he goes to the airport, he is targeted. They single him out and they subject him to more pat downs. And he's obviously not too happy about it. And I don't blame him, but that's the new freedom. Next, we have a very short video clip from Alex Jones. Now, this is about the NFL's New Orleans Saints wiretapping secrets. I mean, why are the Saints getting in trouble for what Google and the federal government do every single day? Illegally, I might add. Let's take a look.
Okay, one of the biggest stories in the country is how the New Orleans Saints are being investigated, not just for the bounties trying to hurt people, to knock them out of the game, but for planting bugs in the visiting team's offices when they came to play games. This would not be the first time stuff like this has gone on. Now, why am I covering this? Well, the media is all very indignant and angry at them and saying how horrible they are. I'm not defending them. I think it is bad. But here's Wired magazine from a month ago, March 15th. Now, more than a month ago. CIA chief will spy on you through your dishwasher. And he gave a speech admitting that all the new technology in the last decade, including this cell phone I'm shooting this video on, they can dial in even when it's off and listen to you, and they do. And smart meters control your house and dial into the dishwashers, TVs, clock radios, and they make you pay for it when you buy it. The big corporations are all in bed with it. I can pull up articles for you. You can pull it up where Google admitted 6 years ago to their shareholders in press releases that they watch people. That's why I have this covered, little camera. They watch people and listen to the onboard microphones and cameras. And now it's come out that they are. And Petraeus admits it. So Google's not going to get in trouble. The CIA, who's not supposed to operate domestically, isn't. Obama, when he launches wars without congressional approval and tells him, hey, he gets the authority from the UN, that's totally illegal. He's not going to get in trouble because the executive has been taken over by foreign corporations. There's been a corporate coup d'etat. You know, Senator Grassley right now is saying, oh my gosh, Russian spies may have tried to infiltrate with these hookers. Okay, great. The point is you're banker spies. These senators, these Congress people, they work for the bankers. Russia can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. I want my republic back. But stop dangling Russia and the Chi-Coms in front of me and say, give my rights up, or the Muslim extremists the CIA openly funds and is putting in charge in Libya and other countries. The real enemies, the Bilderberg Group, the New World Order, the power elite, they're the ones taking my freedoms. They're the ones trashing my country. They're the ones getting away with bloody murder. Like David Rockefeller right there. And we've learned the secret of Bilderberg Group set to meet in Virginia May 31st, June 3rd. That's big news. I'll be covering it. You better believe it, and I'll be on site. Alex Jones signing off for Infowars.com. Send this video out to everybody and ask them, why can Google and the government spy illegally, but the saints can't? They're talking about years in prison if it's true. Why is that? Because you have a lawless criminal government. The TSA can't legally grab your daughter's crotch or your wife's breast, but they do it. It's called tyranny. It's called lawless trash running wild.
And speaking of lawless trash, President Obama opposes CISPA, but he will sign it anyway. Oh, this sounds eerily familiar to the NDAA bait and switch tactic where Obama said he opposed the bill, and as we all know, well, he ended up signing it. Now CISPA, the Cyber Intelligence and Protection Act, orders ISPs to share internet data. That's your internet data history, my history, all of our emails, all of our websites that we frequent. All data will be shared by the government. And Obama opposes it? Yeah, right. You watch, just like the NDAA bill, Obama will sign CISPA into law, allowing him and future administrations, for that matter, to use the internet as one giant worldwide wiretap, all in the name of cyber security. Meanwhile, an amendment to CISPA allows the Department of Homeland Security to intercept tax returns. Now, there's an article by Paul Joseph Watson about this posted right on our website, Infowars.com, where Watson points out that not only would the amendment give Big Sis the power to monitor all government networks, it could also allow Homeland Security to monitor the communications of the federal courts and Congress and intercept tax returns to the IRS. Again, the full article by Paul Watson posted on our website. Finally, this one is out of Tennessee. Study finds more chemicals and medications in our drinking water. And this is happening in more and more cities across the nation. A study has found what starts out in someone's personal medicine cabinet is often finding its way into the glass of water consumed by Tennessee residents.
At one time, we were told to flush unused drugs down the toilet, but new studies, including one done here in Tennessee, show this is a practice that needs to stop.
Your H2O may contain caffeine, hand sanitizers, ibuprofen, Prozac, and insect repellent.
These are compounds that typically aren't monitored in drinking water.
They're getting in our water through our waste, but a common habit could also be contributing. The habit of flushing unwanted and unused drugs.
I think that the average...
So the pathway from the toilet to the stream is pretty direct, and that's a quote from the hydrologist with the U.S. Geological Survey. Well, isn't that special? All right, now another clip sent to us by none other than Alex Jones. This is about the elite and how they like to operate out in the open. Always entertaining and informative. Here's a short clip by none other than Alex Jones.
I think about how beautiful this planet is. and how blessed we are, all of us, to live on it. And I think about the globalists who have cast themselves as the heroes and who claim they're defending the planet, even as they destroy it. I'm very sad. You think about the innocence of children. I know it makes me angry. The New World Order revels in corruption, revels in oppression, and in scientifically obliterating humanity. In their own writings, they brag about it. And I think about how fast they're moving, how they're trying to break our will right now, letting John Corzine steal all those billions of dollars and be caught lying and didn't get in trouble. I think about how the Washington Post now just brags and admits the Bilderberg Group basically vets and chooses the two-party major candidates, decide who's going to get the funding and the media coverage to get in there. I think about how extrajudicially people didn't believe that the NDAA would allow secret arrest and imprisonment of Americans, and then now it's just admitted. I also think about how the IRS is trying to get legislation passed. It's passed the Senate, it's in the House, to let them take your passport and not let you travel if they say you haven't paid taxes. No judge, no jury, no due process. Then they're a Federal Reserve collection agency on top of it. Don't even fund the country. And now I've read the new legislation where it says that they can just arbitrarily ban your Second Amendment, not let you buy guns, confiscate it. And I see some of the commenters, even though we have a link to the article in the legislation, in denial about it. I mean, look at how the government admits they're spying on us without warrants. Look at the admissions of torture, all of it. I mean, it's all happening, and it's going to get worse. But I know why some people, the minority, are in denial. They just can't admit to themselves that I've been right, that Ron Paul's been right. They just can't do it because they don't respect themselves. They don't think they have any power to stop it or resist it. But just think about all the crazy stuff that's out in the open now. And ask yourself how much crazier it's going to get. I mean, my God. The IRS just says they'll just come take your guns if they want. Not even in a seizure. They'll just say, well, we've decided you can't have a gun. That's that no gun buy list Rahm Emanuel talked about. I mean, what a slimy crook. And we even linked to the video in an earlier video. It's the featured video on Infowars.com and our YouTube channel. Listen to that bullfrog. People are just in so much denial. Well, not me. I'd want to know the whole truth and make preparation for it. I wonder if you're making preparation for it, because these guys are going ahead with everything. And it's going to only get worse. And if you think Mitt Romney's going to save you, you're just like the idiots that thought Obama was going to save you. It'll only get progressively worse till we reverse it. Because these people are tyrants and they're bought and paid for. Alex Jones signing off for Infowars.com.
And that brings us to the quote of the day, this one by John D. Rockefeller, where he says, I would rather earn 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own efforts. Well, tell us how you really feel, you arrogant bastard. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Kristen Canty. Now, she is the producer and director of this new hard-hitting documentary, Farmageddon, as our rights to have access to the fresh and healthy foods of our choice, well, it's really under brutal attack by the federal government. Kristen Canty and a look at Farmageddon when we return right after this. Stick around.
Since 2006, something odd and alarming has been happening to commercial beehives throughout the United States. Beekeepers returning to these hives find that the bees are completely gone, vanished, without a trace. This phenomenon has been labeled CCD, or colony collapse disorder. CCD typically occurs in early winter or spring, when the bees that leave the hive to go foraging for pollen simply do not return. The hives appear to be normal, with active queens, developing many brood, with ample food stores. They just simply leave and don't come back. This pattern is followed by the rest of the hive, and with no apparent reason. The vacant hives have had active queens developing many brood, and the hives are well stocked with food and has been reported to have affected nearly 1/3 of all commercially managed hives. This is particularly disturbing when you consider that 76% of all food production and 84% of all plant species rely on bees for pollination.
All right, today it's the 21st of April, and there was some propaganda called Coney 2012, and they had a thing called Cover the Night, where they tried to get kids from around the United States and from around the world to go and post all this Coney 2012 propaganda all over, and they used the date 4/20.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I may only be 20 years old, but I can see what is going on in our country. I have one of these because the government can't and won't protect you. We are now a nation known as Star Wars. We feel compelled because of our insecurity that we have to go over to these other countries to maintain our empire. I'd like you to see what I see. This is important, so please pay attention. Basically, our country and way of life is under attack. Our government has been undermined by a group of criminals. I know that sounds unlikely, but if you look at the facts, it's plain as day.
There's been many reports about attempts to sabotage the Ron Paul campaign from within the party, and as a delegate in my district, I was able to witness it firsthand. When chairwoman of the caucus, Michelle St. Pierre, went to conduct the day's business, it was discovered that the materials necessary to conduct the day's election of delegates were removed from the building.
Since I was elected, and democratically elected, suddenly we weren't the Republican Party anymore, even though, I mean, we should have been. There's no reason that just because someone else is elected doesn't mean we suddenly are not the Republican Party. We just have a different chair. So I was really surprised when they decided to take the ballots and remove them from our use.
Witnesses report seeing Lisa Shin, the King County Republican Party's office executive director, removing materials from the building.
There was an Asian woman wearing a black and white striped shirt with a white watch. Things were not going well the way that they wanted them to, and they responded childishly and removed what they considered supplies from the area in a very strange manner.
When Michael Vandenboss, the man responsible for distributing the ballots, confronted Lisa Shin, she told him she was nothing more than a volunteer.
Someone made a motion to say, you know, who is responsible for the voting box, the voting, tally machine and the ballots, and I saw someone point to a gal named Lisa Shin. So I approached her. That was my job to approach her. I said, "Hi." I said, "My understanding is that you have the ballot material and the counting machine." And she just said, "I'm just a spectator." I need a volunteer here. And I thought, well, maybe I'd been misinformed. But then I found her that she went up and started talking with Glenn Avery. And apparently she was the person who had the materials, and I was told later that that she had taken the voting box and the ballots outside of the building after their chairman wasn't elected.
Thanks for watching. My name is Sean Wright, independent journalist, reporting for Infowars. I am reporting from Minneapolis, Minnesota, also known as the Midwest Civil Unrest. Today we're talking about the stories of loss of liberty and what that means to us. They're passing laws that violate our Fourth Amendment rights and every other amendment we have. So they're capitalizing on the limiting of free speech, saying who can say what and where they can say what. I'm sitting here with filmmakers David Crowley and Danny Mason working on the project Gray State. So can you guys please tell me, what is the Gray State?
Thank you, Sean. Good to be on your show. The Gray State essentially is, like you said, what happens after the police state. So we all recognize these trends that happen day to day, the loss of liberty that we kind of just gloss over because there's something better on TV. So if no one steps in to prevent these things, I mean, bringing the issues to the light, like what Ron Paul's campaign is doing, or what these other patriots like Alex Jones are doing, is they're bringing to light these very real issues that if they go unchecked, they create what we're kind of terming as the gray state. So if the people do not exercise their rights at this time, the rights are taken away. Soon this gray state will exist, and they'll be powerless to stop it, except through revolution, which is, of course, something we don't really want. We want a revolution of the mind, not of the musket.
I'm here, standing here with Ron Paul. Ron Paul, the question today is, what were you going to do if you get in as president of the United States? What would you do against Agenda 21 of the United Nations?
Well, I'd like to get out of the United Nations. What I'd like to do is I wouldn't want to have any attack on our national sovereignty, and that's what Agenda 21 does. And I think it's a threat right now. They talk about currency reform because they know what we know, that the currency's in trouble. They'd like to do it under the United Nations. And I complained tonight in my speech that our president thinks you can go to war under the United Nations. So whether it's at 21, this is just a further step. And not only do I believe in local sovereignty, individual sovereignty, state sovereignty, and minimal federal government, I just don't think that we should put up with more loss of sovereignty to an international government.
Thank you, sir.
Got it.
Have you been to InfoWarsShop.com lately? Express your inner patriot with these brand new InfoWars t-shirts. Say it loud with the InfoWars Bullhorn shirt, or educate the sheeple with the Bill of Rights shirt. Grope the public's mind with the TSA shirt. And with this shirt, you can let the dark side know of the Rebel Alliance's power. All available at InfoWarsShop.com.
Sick of the globalist eugenicist control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure, and it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure, but if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253-3139.
I'm announcing our biggest contest ever. And we're looking for people who love freedom and who want to be all in the resistance to tyrants. So you say you want to fight the New World Order. Why, if you were on the radio, if you were Alex Jones, you'd really kick some globalist ass. Well, here's your chance. We're hiring not one, but 2 new reporters whose reports are going to be on the radio, whose reports are going to be on the nightly news, who will even anchor the show. If you're ready, here's your chance to step into my shoes, and I hope you surpass what I've done. 2 winners, $10,000 in prizes, and a shot to be a reporter inside the Infowars.com command center. We're looking to hire 1 male reporter and 1 female reporter. And when you win $5,000. Your video gets seen by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on YouTube, and you get put into the very front of the running to be hired as a reporter / anchor right here in our operation. Do you have what it takes to be the next Info Warrior? The rules are posted below me here and at Infowars.com. This is a big deal. You know, the globalists are expanding their global empire, but at the same time, the people are waking up all over the world. We've expanded our operations in the last year. We've added the nightly news 5 nights a week. We're making more special reports. We're reaching 15 million people every week. In a year, I want that to be 30 million. This is your chance to join the team. I want to see what you can do. But a big hint is this. Can your news piece make the news? Does it get people's attention? Does it educate people? Does it open minds? That's more important than being beautiful or speaking with perfect eloquence as an orator. All of that is important. But we're looking for people that have that magic spark, that fire of liberty in their heart, because I want you to join our team. I want to give you a launch pad so you can really take off and engage the globalist. And if this works, we'll have contests all the time, and we'll continue to build this operation. I'm involved in a talent search, looking for people who have the fires of liberty burning in their hearts and their minds. You've got until April 30th to complete your news report, and then we'll announce the winners 1 week later. Are you going to join the Info War? Do you have what it takes? It's up to you. All serious entries will be posted on Infowars.com. So everybody wins. You're getting the message of liberty out, and that's what really matters. But in the final equation, it's not about showing Alex Jones what you got. It's about showing the world and the globalist that no army can stop an idea whose time has come. Join me in the Info War. So you say you want to fight the Info War. You say you want to go head up against the New World Order. You can do a better job than Alex Jones? I know you can. And here's your chance to prove your mettle.
And we are back. Thank you for joining us. This is the Infowars Nightly News. Once again, I'm your host, Darrin McBreen. And you know, it's no secret that the establishment has been persecuting family farms to totally dominate and industrialize our food supply. They're making criminals out of farmers who simply want to produce, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and, raw milk. Anything non-GMO is being phased out and criminalized by our tyrannical government. You are an extremist if you don't want to feed your children aspartame, high fructose corn syrup, or non-GMO foods. It's even gotten to the point where they're starting to make it mandatory in many states that the schools supply the children with their contaminated cafeteria food, and they are not allowing parents to pack their own children's lunch, if you could believe that. It's simply getting out of control, but there is a growing movement to put a stop to all this. This as more and more people are becoming aware that their freedom to choose the food they want is it's in serious danger. And that brings us to our guest, Kristen Canty. She is the director and producer of the new hard-hitting documentary, over here. It's called Farmageddon. And this film really exposes how the federal government is beginning to seize control of the food retail system. And before we bring her on, we're actually going to take a look at the official trailer. The film is available, by the way, on our website. You can purchase this at InfoWarsShop.com at a discounted price. Here's a look at Farmageddon, the unseen war on America Family Farms.
What I saw from at the top of the stairs was a man right here around the corner with his arm like this and a gun pointing up at me.
They even took the sheep that I had brought over from New Zealand and they took them out to Iowa and they killed them for a disease that doesn't exist to this day.
They're actually going onto the farm and telling farmers how to grow things.
Raw milk from South Carolina, USDA grade licensed dairy, a imminent health hazard according to the state of Georgia.
They came with the director of milk control, the assistant director, and our inspector.
And it was a SWAT-type team raid, which included the FBI, the FDA, the CDFA, and the health department, along with half a dozen sheriffs.
We were just recently raided again for the third time, 6:30 in the morning. Knock on the door and my kids again ousted from their beds.
And they all came and pretended they were just going to do an inspection, and then they did a seizure.
They terrorized the children, took the farmer away in handcuffs.
It is alarming these days to hear more and more about what's happening with farmers and certain restrictions, and they're running into trouble with the government when the people who are producing sort of the most unnatural processed foods are just running along producing all that stuff.
The only option consumers will be left with is the grocery store chains buying from these huge processing plants.
Energy doesn't win, the farmer doesn't win, the birds don't win, the eater doesn't win. You know, nobody wins in that system.
There aren't a lot of advocates right now for sustainable farming and organic farmers within our government. And I'm hoping that the public pressure and the support of local foods is starting to push change.
Smile for the camera.
Some terrible things are happening out there. America, wake up. I mean, these things are starting to happen, and if we don't have a huge outcry, it will continue to happen.
And we are joined now by the writer and producer of the film Farmageddon. Her name is Kristen Canty. And Kristen, thank you for joining us today. You know, I watched the film for the first time last night. It was, I'm very impressed. It was very professionally put together. I think it's an awesome tool to wake people up. But tell us a bit more about the film, why you decided to make it, and maybe some of the highlights of the film as well.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I guess I'll start from the beginning, from my son and why I made the film to speak to food freedom. So I guess I'll start from the beginning and tell you about why I choose to eat this way, why I choose to eat off the farms. And that's because my son, when he was 4 years old, he was completely ridden with allergies and asthma. Doctors told me that he was allergic to grass, dust, every kind of animal, every kind of pollen, bees. And so he had an asthma inhaler, and he was up all night long screaming all the time that he couldn't breathe. You know, he'd be wheezing, and doctors kept giving me stronger and stronger medications for him.
Now, and I remember hearing that it was so bad that you couldn't even have carpet in your house or curtains in your house. That's how bad his asthma and allergies were? Right, because he was allergic to dust. So I had to keep plastic on his bed and HEPA filters in his room, and we had to rip up our carpets and take down our curtains and get rid of all of our pets and you know, trying to manage this. And the medications, unfortunately, weren't helping. It would have been great if I could have just given him a pill and he would have been all better, but it didn't work for us. So luckily I met some naturopath doctors and a chiropractor who convinced me to take him off the medication and try unprocessed foods, try, you know, really working on his diet. And so I started doing a lot of research, and I was very lucky to find the Weston Price Foundation online. And there were a lot of compelling stories there about people that had been healed of their allergies when they started consuming unpasteurized milk from local farms. So at the time, I was completely grossed out by this. It took me a long time to absorb it, and then to finally go out and meet a farmer and ask a lot of questions and asked him for his milk and drank a lot of it myself before
I gave it to my son to make sure that it was okay. And I finally gave it to him, and very, very quickly, he was completely healed of all of his allergies. So it was amazing. So we continued to eat this way. We joined 3 co-ops, a milk co-op, a dairy co-op here in Massachusetts, and a meat co-op and a vegetable co-op. I belong to a community supported agriculture, CSA, where you pay up front. That helps the farmers, with their cost of seeds, and you get you get a share of what they produce over the summer weekly.
So explain a little bit more about that. This is where you guys get together, like certain people in your community, you get together once a week. The farmers bring in the local food, organic food, to a central location, and you guys divvy it up and take it home. Is that how that works?
Yeah, exactly. The food is delivered to a central location. Every CSA is different. It's sometimes for the vegetables, usually you just get what was picked that week.
Sure.
And for other foods like meat and milk, you place your order, and you place a specific order and go pick it up in a central location. So this worked out. This has been working out great for us. And a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, I was asked, I've always been supportive of farming organizations, of Northeast Organic Farmers Association, and they asked me to have a fundraiser for them along with the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. And I didn't know what the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund did. When I went to research that, I found out that they were defending for free all of these farmers around the country that had been raided for having co-ops, having these private clubs, and for providing fresh milk to willing consumers, none of whom ever got sick.
And this is what got you interested in starting to start thinking about making the film, right? You're witnessing these raids, hearing about these raids. Tell us about some of these raids and how far, some of the worst raids that you witnessed and that you heard about.
They're all bad. I don't know if I could single out a worst. One of the ones that's kind of along the lines of what we're talking about right now is the Omana Storehouse in LaGrange, Ohio. A woman in my film, Jackie Stowers, she found 40 Amish farms around her area in Ohio that had no way to get their product to market. So what she did was, it was a great idea. She decided with a few neighbors that one week she would go out to all of these farms and get eggs, meat, produce, unsprayed vegetables, whatever, and bring it back to her house, and her neighbors would come pick it up. And then the following week, another neighbor would go out. So they were sharing transportation, and sharing the time in order to get the food back to a central location and picking it up. And unfortunately, the Ohio Department of Agriculture caught wind of this, and their response was to go in with, I think, as many as 11 armed agents. And she had 8 kids in the house, and they kept the children and the adults in a room for 6 hours while they tore her house apart, took all of her food, both from her buying club and for her private consumption, took her computers. Her son was in Iraq at the time, and he called, and they wouldn't let them answer the phone. They confiscated their cell phones, all for, on the warrant, it said that it was a 3rd-degree misdemeanor, that they might be operating a retail establishment without a license.
Well, and it's crazy, and they come in, SWAT style, guns drawn, scaring the family. And I mean, it's just amazing what measures they go through. And why do you think there's so many raids? Why does the federal government want to raid small farms?
I wish I could answer that question. When I've asked government officials to speak, well, first of all, it was very hard for me to get people to speak on this issue from the government. So there are some government officials in my film, and I was extremely grateful that they would speak out. Basically, when you ask them, their only answer is it's in regards to food safety, that they're trying to keep people safe, and that's what these raids are about. Now, in my opinion, they're allowing a lot of very unsafe foods to go completely unregulated, unlabeled in our food system, and they're cracking down on the people that are trying to supply the most natural foods, foods that are in farming, cracking down on the people that are farming the way people farmed for generations before industrial agriculture really kicked in.
Well, food safety, give me a break. I mean, you've probably seen the condition of some of these big mega farms. I mean, they're dirty. They have thousands of animals condensed together in tight quarters. They're pumping them full of antibiotics, steroids. They're coming out with cloned cows, cloned pigs. I mean, it's frankenfood, and it's no wonder that a lot of people are beginning to ask for organic food and seeking alternatives. I mean, but if the government gets their way, we're not going to have a choice.
Right. That's the problem, is that as people learn what's really in their food and how their food is being produced, they're trying to turn away from that. And so they're meeting more and more. We're finding these local movements and these food co-ops and these private buying clubs. In Maine, they're trying to pass food sovereignty laws that says that the government cannot, anything bought and sold in the town or in the county, can't be infringed upon by the federal government. I find it very sad that they find a need that they have to do that, because our federal government should not be down on our local food system.
Agreed. Now, what about, tell us about in Venice, California with Rossum Foods. What went down there?
Yep, Rossum Foods, again, was a private buying club in Venice, California, and it's been run for years. I believe it's about 8 to 10 years old. And they supply all raw dairy, fermented vegetables, lots of fermented foods too, like kefir, and organic vegetables and meat also to their private membership. And it was just a nice open air market in Venice, California, but it was private. You had to have a membership. And the federal government it was, I think as many as 7 agencies went in there and raided them, took all of their food, put the owner in handcuffs. And this happened, I think the third time was just a few weeks ago, where they took the owner and one of the former suppliers, Sharon Palmer from Healthy Family Farms, and threw them in jail. They weren't treated very well at all. I think that they were in jail for about 10 days. I think Sharon, the farmer, was in jail for even longer. And this is all, nobody ever got sick. This is all a private club. And this is all because they said they didn't have the proper licensing.
Well, as you were making the film, did you have friends and family that were just like, hey, this isn't happening, this can't be happening? And then when you finished the film and they got a chance to see it, did it make believers out of them? Did you change anybody's minds after seeing the film?
Yeah, the odd thing is that that's why I had to make the film, because I was trying to get this issue publicized. I was calling mainstream media and trying to get other documentary makers to make a film about this. And people didn't believe me. But, there's been a big difference between when I started the film and now that I've finished it, because I feel like more and more people are waking up, and they're not as surprised for the most part, they're not as surprised as they were a few years ago that this is occurring.
Sure. Well, it's getting great reviews, and I'm looking here where the Los Angeles Times says it's an eye-popping wake-up call. And like I said, I did watch it for the first time last night. I really enjoyed it. I think it's an effective tool. I think it's going to make changes. So I think we get this out to friends and family members, pass this video along, and I think it's going to make a difference, like I said. Tell us more about what's happening now. Is there a movement? What can we do to stop this tyrannical takeover of our food supply?
It's state by state right now. The FDA is having monthly meetings with your state health departments. And I think these conversations are called Healthy People 2020. And it seems to me that the main goal in these conversations is to regulate the small farms. So, basically, number one, you can get involved with your state legislature to make sure that, to alert them of this, to alert them of the plight of the small farmer in your state right now. And form groups, form large, at least a small group and large groups if you can, and go meet with your representatives and tell them your concerns. Find out what is affecting your farmer in your state or your co-op in your state, and go talk to your state representatives.
Yeah, and I think those are all great ideas. The only thing I'm always concerned about, contacting our local representatives, it's a very good idea. It's just that it seems more often than not that a lot of these politicians, lobbyists, policymakers, they're in the back pockets of these big federal the big corporations that are taking over the local farming industry. But certainly a good idea. And I think the purchasing power, I think if we all band together, we join these co-ops like you were saying, and we begin to purchase these organic foods, and then that's definitely a good way to make change as well.
Right. Keep your farmer in business while we're fighting.
That's right. That's right.
It's very true that that most of the representatives are in the pocket of big ag, but the numbers can help. So if you just try to get the numbers up there, I'm hoping that it could make a change.
All right. Well, in closing, we're just about out of time. Anything else you want to add, to tell the people out there as far as actions they could take to stop this from happening as well?
Yep, the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund is a great organization that you can become a member. If you get in trouble in your co-op, they'll help defend you for free. And there's many other organizations. The Farm and Ranch Freedom Alliance is right there in Texas where you are. The Organic Consumers Association is fighting hard for labeling our food and for our freedom to drink raw milk. And I'm sure there's others. And there's others on my website. My website is farmageddonmovie.com.
That's right, farmageddonmovie.com. And this is about as important of an issue as it gets. I mean, our freedom to choose the food that we want is at stake here. So it's a real clear and present danger. And I want to thank you, Kristen, for joining us. You've been an awesome guest, and we look forward to having you hopefully again soon in the near future.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. And well, that just about does it for tonight's show. Thank you for joining us. Hey, don't forget that you could purchase Farmageddon on our website, InfoWarsShop.com. Buy a copy today, share the vital information with your friends and family, because it's only a matter of time, folks. If we don't stop this federal takeover of our food, they will completely dominate our entire food supply. You won't even be able to grow a garden in your own backyard. Mark my words. It is up to all of us to stop this from happening. Thank you once again for joining us. We will be back tomorrow night, Lord willing, 7 p.m. Central Time. Until then, fight the New World Order, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Good night.